and it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is bet.
So, hello and welcome back to the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. Slightly delayed this week, but we have episode number 7 here, and with Davy Boland once again to look back at what's been a cracking day's racing, of course, today at Naas, and we did have action from Punchestown as well. And we're going to get more Ante-Post selections. Davy, any Christmas trees left in County Wexford?
Well, not in Dublin where I was selling them anyway. Done and dusted, finish on Sunday, Barry. So that's it. Concentrate on going to see Santi tomorrow, the little one, and look forward to a couple of days off over the Christmas and go to Leopardstown a couple of days then.
Yeah, super, Dave. I was celebrating my anniversary, so I haven't seen too much racing. I'm depending on you for the tracker horse this week. Although I have one from Dundalk last Wednesday night, would you believe? Or Wednesday after. Yeah, Dundalk. So that's the tracker horse this week. We'll also be taking a look at the Savile Chase, of course, at Leopardstown. Of course, over Christmas, our Christmas special will be released on the 23rd. So looking forward to recording that. Thanks to everyone that is getting involved as well in the comments, of course, with the selections. We have over 90 entries in the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. Of course, if you still do want to enter, we might make an exception. We're on week 7 now. Of course, those who haven't subscribed to the channel, you must also have subscribed and do like the videos as well. It does help the channel out. And yeah, thanks very much once again to our sponsors, Boyle Sports, who've kindly enhanced our selections at the end of the show. So, Davey, you put up Sam Crow's caused a bit of a stir last week for the cross-country chase, so no pressure. Of course, you do have a selection. I'm not going to give any clues away till the end of the show. The first section of the show, Davey, as usual, is the Prospect Star Ratings.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Right, Dave, I suppose all we did have was Punchestown to John Durkin, and we did have Naas today as well. So we've put together, as you will see on screen, we've looked at 5 performances. We're going to start, you're going to take a look at Gallop and the Champ, Liberty Dance as well. I did forget Turles. And you're also going to take a look at Slade Steele, who won the bumper. There was plenty of chat about that one at Punchestown yesterday. I'm going to take a look at Appreciated, and I was working today, and I did see Impare Epa, if I've pronounced that right, Willie Mullins' horse, of course, in the Minear colours that won today very impressively at Naas. But the star ratings on screen, Dave, no better place to start than Gallopin de Champ. And it looks a proper Gold Cup horse now, doesn't he? We've got that one wrong, Dave. Well, I got that wrong.
Yeah, he has everything, Barry. Obviously, he just travels so easy. He jumps. He was obviously very unfortunate in Cheltenham back in March, but he showed yesterday just really how good he is. You know, you look at the second, Fakar Dudery, he's a grade 1 horse. He put it to bed so quick. I just love the way he quickened away, and you'd imagine he will stay. I don't see why he won't. He's a horse that doesn't seem to do too much. He doesn't overexert himself. You know, it doesn't seem to be keen or anything like that. So, and he just very good to jump. But look, I gave him 4.5 stars. You could easily give him 5. I gave it 4.5 because I think.
Where did you dock him to half a star, Dave?
It's not a case of docking him. I just think there's more improvement in him. You know, that's the first run, so he's definitely going to come on for that. But it's just exciting, isn't it, Barry? He just looks the real deal, to be fair.
He does look the real deal. And in fairness, I'm not sure was it on last week's show or on plenty of these shows. We're on week 7 now. Anytime Gallop and the Champ has been mentioned, Dave, I've been saying Ryanair, why rush it? He was so keen in his races last year. You know, he travelled very well in his races. His jumper was probably his biggest asset. But I have to say, when looking at his performance, I actually gave him a 4.5 as well, Dave. That was the rating I gave him. And looking at, I suppose, the one sentence that came out of the race for me is he looks a completely different horse this season. I mean, obviously we only seen him once, but the way he settled early on in the race, that wasn't Galloping the Champ of last year.
No, and I mentioned that there, Barry, because that's what I was very impressed with. Is, you know, if he stays that way of not getting keen or not doing too much early, you know, who knows what heights he can go to. But like I said, don't repeat myself, but I just think it's really exciting. You know, it's always nice to have when the star horse, and you got to look on it too. You know, as good as he was, people will still question, will he stay that 3 mile, 2.5 furlongs up that hill? You know, it's still a big step up. I'd imagine he's going to run in Leopardstown over 3 mile. He's obviously the Dublin Racing Festival. I imagine he'd go there and then he go to Cheltenham. But you know, like Leopardstown's a lot stiffer than what people think from watching it on TV. But you know, that extra 2.5 furlong, he's going to have to step up 0.5 mile. But that's why it's intriguing, Barry. But he has everything.
Well, obviously, lifetime ambition. Like, people are going to say, obviously, you know, well, he set a really decent pace for starters. Galloping the Champ, he didn't exactly attack his first fence, and you're kind of thinking, okay, he was very exuberant at the second and the third. I think Willie Mullins mentioned the loopy reins coming around. That was a phrase that was used a couple of times by not just Willie, but loopy reins. It was the first time I heard that one. But obviously he was settling better. And what I loved about him is he warmed up down the back with his jump, and he was very, very professional. Was at the third last, he absolutely winged it. And, you know, Paul doesn't even have to get serious with him. So he just goes away from his rivals between the second last and the last, and probably stronger at the line than anywhere else. For me, he only enhanced his reputation. He only enhanced his Gold Cup claims. And for me, the only worry, you know, going into the John Durkan was, you know, would he settle in his race? You know, he was obviously not using too much energy at his jumps. He was obviously, as I said, exuberant at the first and at the second and the third. But apart from that, he was foot perfect, I thought. And yeah, certainly a big player in the Gold Cup. And I must say, I'm afraid on my Statler docket with Galloping the Champ putting in a performance like that. Your second Liberty Dance won that listed contest, which saw Davy Russell retire.
Yeah, I thought she was very good, Barry. I see there earlier, she's 8-1 now for the Mayor's Novice. I remember talking to Gordon. I did a bit of an interview with some of the horses before Down Royal that week, where he obviously loves to start off his stars. And she was running a grade 3. And he just felt like first run over hers, just throwing her in the deep end a little bit. But thought she might have picked up black type. And maybe she disappointed a little bit, but she showed... You know, she's obviously learned a lot from that. She was very impressive then in 2 runs, then in Thurles. Of course, then for the great Davy Russell, then to bow in style. But we'll talk about him in a second. But just her, I'd imagine she's sharp, she's quick, she's a good jumper. She's tailor-made for that Mayor's Novice.
Thought she was good, yeah. What'd you give her?
Yeah, 4? No, she was very good. So yeah. She there's definitely more improvement in it. There's no doubt about that. It was a good field, you know. Some good winners in the race that she beat handy as well. But just a quick mention on Davy. What an incredible rider, great fella. What he's done for the sport. He's one of those. He's you know, we always talk about Paul Carberry, the natural. Conor O'Dwyer, natural. Russell was the same. You know, just those hands, the loop in the rein, the way horses would settle from, the way horses jump from. He just had everything. He was just one of those few gifted people. Like Ruby, obviously, you know, he'd ride a little bit different to him and that. But there were just those 4 or 5 lads that you can mention, like Carberry, Ruby, McCoy, and Davy. They're just gifted. But obviously Jack Hendy had taken over kind of the whole number 1 slot there. Not so long ago, but massive for him now. You know, Davy stepped away. You know, it's all about the youth coming through. And
Jordan Gainford, more opportunities for Jordan.
Gainford, very good, promising rider. He's shown that on numerous occasions. And Sam Ewing, can't forget either. You know, came off the flat. I see he actually rode in an apprentice race last week. He's still able to ride in those. But that's a guy who's really, really improved, I think. Very strong in a finish. I say the horses know about it when he gets behind one. So I'd say it's great for Gordon. You know, the 3 lads get on great together. They're best mates. They knock around together. So that has to make Gordon's job easier. But, Jack Kennedy, if he can stay sound, which what he does, he's a great opportunity of going very close to taking that crown from Paul Townend.
Super. Okay. Last one to take a look at was the bumper horse for Henry.
Yeah. Do you know what? Obviously, we all know what Henry the Bromhead does. He's just such a good trainer. But he doesn't have the greatest record with bumper horses. He wouldn't always have a lot of bumper winners. Now, he wouldn't maybe have near as many runners as the others do, but this is a very impressive horse. Seen him win in Dawstown. He was very impressed when he was bought privately by Brian Atchison and Henry after he won. Blizzard of Oz, who was third in the race, came in with a huge reputation after finishing second, splitting Mercury and the name escapes me, Barry.
Impulsive Dancer.
That's the one. So he came in with a huge reputation, was odds-on favourite, and I know Harley Dunn thinks a huge amount of it. I've seen an interview with Patrick not long ago, and he mentioned this lad as being a very good horse, but say he'll win the next day, all right. I probably just got a little bit outpaced, I'd imagine, but going back to the winner, very smart type. Excuse me. Yeah, we'll see him again winning plenty in those colours who are bought so many good horses. But a quick mention to the rider, John Gleeson. This is very, very promising young lad. He's getting himself around a bit. People have spotted him. They're using him. He obviously rode that winner at Hatton's Grace weekend for Gordon, for Andy and Gemma Brown. This lad has it all. He's very, very good. Obviously has a very good brain. I don't know him personally, but he seems to have it all. Very tidy, strong. I can't speak to him. I could be wrong saying this, but I'd imagine it won't be long before we see him turning from the amateur ranks to the professional ranks. But it's great to see young talent like that.
Super. Okay, Dave. I've only taken 2 this week, and I'm going to bring you in on Appreciate It because you probably have a slightly different opinion than me because we kind of spoke about it off air earlier. Looking at the price now, he's 4-1 for the Arkle, second favourite behind John Bon, having won his beginner's chase at Punchestown. First thing to say about him, he made a lovely shape of the fence. Just the word electric never even came to mind once. Now, I know it's his first run. I know he's done what he's had to do. We've given him a 3-star here. He didn't blow me away. He jumped left, so probably he's going to be better going left-handed. He was clever at the 40. Pinged 6 out. Jumped very, very big at the third last. Was slow at the second last. Paul mentioned afterwards he was probably very idle. But for me, I just wonder, would he be found out at the top level over 2 miles? Like, I was very disappointed. I know it was his first run coming back to a champion hurdle, but I was expecting a better run for him personally. He was trained for the day. They were very, very keen on him before the race. For me, he disappointed me in last year's champion hurdle. Looking at what I saw, I would be saying stepping him up in trip. Connections are very, very bullish. Willie Mullins obviously come out today and mentioned champion chase for him. I don't see that at all. I don't know what your thoughts are.
We spoke about this earlier. We disagree on this. I thought he was very good. So some people expect a lot more from the horses in a beginner's chase. Want him to blow them all away. You could say, all right, well, how good is Top Bandit? Is he going to line up as one of the favourites in Cheltenham? No, but Paul's riding them differently compared to a championship race. It's his beginners. Obviously, he's made the running, but he's still taking his time. Nurse the horse around. The last thing you want with a horse like that, or for any horse, first run over fences, is an accident and getting a fall, for confidence. So I don't really read into the whole, he probably should have beaten the rest of them better. I thought he was very good, and we know what he can do. We've seen his ability. I know Paul's obviously very keen on him, and he'd know better than we would. And I disagree with you, Barry. I think we'll see this lad thereabouts going up that Cheltenham Hill in March.
Yeah, I think he'd be a big player going up in trip. That's just my thoughts. I just wonder, would he be caught out for just a little bit of toe? Obviously, his stayers have won the Arkle in the past. I was hoping to see this horse maybe up in trip as the season goes on, but maybe obviously connections feel they're going to stick to 2 miles.
And you say up and trip. What to compare him then to Journey with Me? Then obviously that was 2.5 mile. What did you make of him?
He finished legless, didn't he? He was taken on down the back by Flame Bear. He was very, very keen in the race. I was a little bit disappointed with him now. He was a bit gassy, I thought. 2.5 miles for a Journey with Me. I would be stepping him up further in trip. I think he'd be a better horse over further. Journey with Me, that is. And Flame Bear, the way he ran today, would drop him back in trip. He was very, very keen early in the race. I think the two of them took each other on. So I think Journey with Me, for what he's done today, I think it was full value for the victory. To finish in front, it was a bit of a burn-up up front, I thought, between himself and Flame Bear. So I thought he's done well to win that, personally, up the hill in Naas. The second performance I did want to talk about, Dave, was at Naas today. And I hope I get the pronunciation of this right. Jerry Hannon seemed to get it spot on, but it was Ante-Post. Ante-Post, if that's correct, in my Carlow accent. Bit of an X factor. Bit of an X factor with him.
I'd go with you on the name. That's good go at it.
X factor, bit of an X factor about this fella, I thought. Geez, Dave, I thought he was very impressive. Obviously, they've taken out the two final flights. So the last was just before the bend. He's jumped very well in the main. Obviously, 2 miles, 3 furlongs around Naas does take a bit of getting. But he just took off up the straight, didn't he? Obviously, there was meant to be a last hurdle there, but after the fight, I suppose, inside the last 500 yards, this thing just took off up the straight. I thought he was very impressive. I'm not a massive man on times, but it was very interesting on the same card. The grade 2, obviously, in the pocket was an impressive winner for Henry, and in the McManus Silks. And between this, obviously the 2 last flights were taken out in the grade 2 as well in the race before in Ante-Post, and he was half a second quicker from the back of the third last to the line. Not sure whether you can ride into that too much, but I thought it was a really impressive performance. As debuts go, I've given this one a 4. And I would say, would you say 2 miles or 2.5 miles? Where would you like to see him next?
I'd say he's versatile enough that way, Barry. Going on today's evidence that he could drop back, but I'd imagine you'll see him lining up in the Lawlers race in Naas in the new year to go back there. That's maybe not. I didn't hear any interviews or anything afterwards, but you'd imagine that's where he'll go now.
Same connections, of course, did ride. They did run a Blue Lord in that race, didn't they? A couple of seasons ago in the Maneer Silk. So yeah, just interesting on times. Just he was banged there in terms of times from the back of the last to the line, which was, I suppose, the third last really, with the 2 flights taken out. So just thought there was an interesting comparison. In the pocket, just very quickly, obviously we didn't look at this in huge detail. Had you any thoughts on him? He obviously was a point-to-point winner.
Yeah, I thought he was very good, Barry. Probably a little bit disappointed with the favourite. I fancied the favourite, Absolute Notions. I thought he was very impressive in Punchestown not so long ago, and he was the one I fancied, and a stable companion beat him 3-card brag. I know it was tight finish between the two of them, but in the pocket, yeah, he was very good. Obviously, the hurdles taken out, I don't think it really mattered to him. He was absolutely running away. Rachel got a kind of little bit of a freebie of a gap, all right, but still, I'd say the best horse won on the day. Yeah, he looks a smart horse.
Possibly maybe got to the front too soon in some ways. Like, they obviously couldn't lead him far enough because he was a bit idle after he headed them, wasn't he? I thought he hung slightly left.
Yeah, he was. He was. You know, he quickened very well, and that could have been different if he had the hurdles. Rachel could have waited a bit longer. I suppose when that gap came, she had to go, so she was committed then, you know.
Yeah, I'd say he's plenty of pace as well. Obviously, he won in Wexford over 2 miles on heavy ground. It was soft ground today at Naas over 2.5 miles. Be very interesting to see what to do with him next, because I'd say he is a fair engine now. Yeah,
you'd imagine he'd be able to step up as well. So there are plenty of options with him, you know.
Yeah, 100%. Right, Dave, next section of the show is the tracker horse.
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Right, I mentioned one from Dundalk. I've won from Dundalk last Wednesday, but we'll stick with the team at the point-to-points here, Dave, because your tracker horse, you were telling me off air, is an ex-graduate from Colin Bowes.
Yeah, Captain Teague. He ran in, he won in Plumpton today. This horse who had a huge reputation, a son of Diane. He went to Knockanards in February. I think it was the opening weekend of the 4-year-olds, or maybe the second weekend.
Okay.
There was actually a very smart horse who we haven't seen on the track yet. I'll leave that. There's a question to answer later. But the Barry O'Neill rode him, and Rob James went and rode the other horse I'm going to mention later. This is a 2.5 mile maiden, which there doesn't be many of those. And Fernie Hollow actually won the race a few years ago in Knockanards. And this lad won the same. But I was lucky enough to be in Paul Nichols's there a few weeks back, and Harry Cobden had mentioned there was a lot of point-to-pointers, Irish point-to-pointers in the yard that hadn't run, and he mentioned about a couple, but he thought that this was a standout one, this son of Diane. And maybe people could be a little bit hard on him, say, did he hang up the straight, maybe leaned a bit, whatever it is. But I'd say this is a horse who has a big, big engine, and we'll be hearing a lot more of him. Trained by champion trainer, and came from the champion point-to-point trainer, Colin Bowe.
Do you think he could be a graded horse in time over hurdles or fences?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. He's a very good horse.
Captain
I'd say
Teague.
he'll actually be better when he has a hurdle and in time has a fence in front of him.
Absolutely. One for the tracker. Yeah, no, he went off odds on today, didn't he? And did it nicely. That's a Captain
Teague.
Teague.
11 to 10 last night as well, Barry. Wasn't bad.
Yeah, on you were?
Few bob.
Right, well, I'd have to go back to, as I mentioned, Dundalk last Wednesday, because I was away on the anniversary for a couple of nights down in Glasson, Lake House, if anyone wants to drop down there, County Westmeath. Dundalk last week, there was a maiden over 7 furlongs last Wednesday. King of Scotia won it at 4 to 7. Shanadar was second. Really impressive performance. Dropped back in trip, was having a second run for Mick Halford, and made serious ground from the bend to the line. Just touched off by the winner by 1.5 lengths. I'd say this one will be winning next time. That's Shanadar for Mick Halford last Wednesday. Stick it in the tracker. I reckon it will get off the mark. It obviously stepped forward from its debut run. Finished 6th of 10 at Dundalk over a mile. I think the drop back and trip really suited. And by Siuni has a nice little pedigree as well. Shanadar, and that is for Mick Halford. So put that in the tracker. That's my tracker horse from the flat at Dundalk last Wednesday for this week's show. David, next section of the show is the Ante-Post race. And now we're looking ahead to Christmas.
Download the BoyleSports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BoyleSports, this is betting.
Now, Dave, we're going to take a look at the Savills steeplechase at Leopardstown, of course, at Christmas. Are you going to Leopardstown over Christmas, Dave?
I will. I'll definitely get there 2 days. I know I never go Stephen's Day. I like to stay at home, sit on the sofa, watch the football, and flat out with the remote control switch and trying to catch all the racing. So no, but I'll definitely go up 2 of the other days for sure.
Super. Savills Chase, A Plus Tard. He's 6 to 4 at BoyleSports. Conflated. 5 to 2 at BoyleSports. Galopin des Champs. Not likely to go, obviously. 11 to 4 Statler. 7 to 2 Galvin. 6 to 1 Kimboy. 9 to 1 Manila Indo. 11 to 1. It's 14 to 1 Bar. A Plus Tard, you're a big fan. Do you think he bounces back?
Yeah, I think he will. It's too bad to be true the last day. I don't have any connection to anybody in that yard, so I never heard what was a miss or anything like that. But actually, after the race, Barry, this could come back to lads could jeer me over this one, all right. But I actually backed them. Obviously, now after today or yesterday, I'm not as keen on it. But after Haydock, he got pushed out in price for the Gold Cup, and I backed him. Just thought it was too bad to be true. He'll come back, and I think he'll win this. Conflated's a very good horse. Galopin Champs obviously won't run. Slatter, obviously, you're a fan of that horse. Envoy Allen, he'll go to the King George, and then you have the usual suspects, Galvin and Kemboy and Manila Indo. But no,
what chance would you give Statler then?
Sure, look, he has every chance. He proved how good he was last season. But he has to step up. He has to improve. And here, there's no doubt that he can, especially coming from where he's coming from. But yeah, look, he's every chance, but he's short enough, isn't he? I know, like, Applutard ran a stinker the last day, but he's short enough at 7-2 to be even conflated as well, like, you know.
Well, conflated obviously has won at Leopardstown. He was the one that he was the horse that a lot of people were taking out of the race at Down Royal, conflated. Apparently he was as big as a bull in the parade ring. You know, if he steps forward, who's going to ride him? Obviously, Davy Russell rode him last year at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival when he won.
Oh, sure, just interested on him now.
Yeah, exactly. So like, obviously on rating, Statler, he's rated 158. He obviously is going to need to improve. Stamina's proven. He's extremely lightly raced. It's his first run of the season. He won first time up. He didn't win first time up last season. He actually finished third behind Vanillier. And then went to sorry, he won first time up last year. He finished third behind Vanillier on his first run over hurdles for Willie Mullen. So he's won first time up last season at Fairyhouse. It's the type of horse I think he's versatile. You could run him. Obviously, he was entered into John Durkin. You know, he's obviously won over 2.5 miles. He can win over 3 miles and 6 furlongs. His ears absolutely pricked at the line, Dave, in the National Hunt Chase last season. He wasn't doing a tap. It was very easy for him, I felt, last year at Cheltenham. And he's beaten Run Wild Fred there, who at Cheltenham, going into Cheltenham, obviously much more experienced than Statler. He was a solid 158 rated horse every single day of the week last season, Run Wild Fred. So I think that's a really good display as a novice around Cheltenham. As I said, he's only had 3 starts. I think that he's open to so much more improvement. Obviously, have him in the team sheet for a Gold Cup. I'm going to be siding with him. Very disappointed with Applutard last time. Obviously, if he bounced back, but it's an if, isn't it? I think Statler's up to this level, and I will be playing Statler because I won't be able to let him go off. He's probably going to drift as well. He's 7-2 now with BOYLESPORTS. They did have an enhancement. I think it was on the Off the Fence podcast. If anyone wants to check that out, at 9-2. But for me, if you're getting 7-2 or bigger on Statler, I'd be willing to take that. So that'll be my play in here. I think Conflated is probably going to take a lot of support, and Applutard, it's between the 3 of them, isn't it? Is there anything else that can get into it, do you think, at a bigger price?
No, I don't think so. But just something interesting on Statler. Now, I could be way off the mark here because they think he's a proper Grade 1 horse, but be interesting. You know what race he would be very suited to? Obviously be carrying the burden weight, but an Irish National. Novices have a great record in it, 158. Obviously, if he wins in the meantime, he'll go higher. But I think
he's won a Fairyhouse in the past.
Yeah, he's versatile horse in terms of trip, and he has everything. And you need a class horse. And we've seen again. My memory is at me. The old flu must be at me. Robbie Power in the National a few years ago for Jessica Harrington. The name escapes me, Barry.
Arduke.
Well done, Barry. The novice, you know, and yeah, that's something just to keep in mind. But look, I could be way wrong, and he could win at Christmas, and people say, "Geez, where are you going with that?" But be an interesting one. I think he has that profile that could be well suited. And again, like I said, novices have a good record in the race.
Yeah, I'd just be hoping to have a right good go at this being a Grade 1 and campaign.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I could be wrong, and he proves me wrong, and he is a proper Grade 1 horse, and we'll see him line up in the Gold Cup. But I just think, you know, there is options with him.
Absolutely. No, I think he's a class horse and definitely one to keep on side for the remainder of the season, no matter what route they do go down. So that is the big race preview. We'll be back to take a look at the 5 biggest races over Christmas and have a look at all the best bets on Friday the 23rd. The Christmas 5-cast, of course, will be on the 23rd. David, you might drop in if you're free, if you've all the Christmas trees are sold. But the next section of the show, Davy, is the Portfolio Spotlight.
Download the BOYLESPORTS app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BOYLESPORTS, this is betting.
So here it is. Every single week, of course, we do take a portfolio to take a look at, Davy. And week one of Bag of Hammers. I don't know, is that christened after Jerry Hannum? But Bag of Hammers, a famous commentary at Ferryhouse last season. Week one, you will see the selections on screen. Between Waters, Davy. This is a portfolio I wanted to flash up because, again, this little mare has been well touted ever since winning her point-to-point. She's gone to Nicky Henderson. She's been put in as the week one selection by Bag of Hammers for the mare's novices hurdle. Obviously, she was entered at Newbury before Jack Frost got his claws into the ground. But thoughts on this one? 16-1 for the mare's novice hurdle. From what you know or from what you've seen, good selection?
Yeah, she's a very good mare, Barry. You'd like to see her run soon, though, wouldn't you? You don't like to see that drag on too long. I heard that about 6 weeks ago she had a small knock and not much, and then obviously we've seen her enter Newbury. She was very impressive when she won in Lisrona for Sean Doyle and Jamie Scallon, and then was owned by Miss Tabor now, sold privately. She's supposedly the word is that she's doing all the right things at home. And if you look back, James Doyle, better known as W, he had a mare in the race who we thought quite a lot of by Mass Marvel. And she was second, beaten quite a long way because the winner won very well. But she was sold at the sales and she went on. And she's had one run there and she was very impressive winning Bangor and a bumper. So there's good form as well to carry through. But no, this mare seems to have it all by that great sire as well, walking the park. And should be exciting. But look, for the likes of backing her for that race, you'd like to see her run soon, Barry. You know, you'd like to see her get a run in over Christmas, you know.
Of course, for anyone who hasn't seen the tracker horse from last week, has been bought, of course, by JP McManus, that walk in the park bumper horse, Davy. So, yeah, obviously you're a fan of that, sire. James de Burley, week two selection for the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. Believe it or not, James de Burley, we haven't seen too much of this horse. He's had 15 runs over hurdles, just 2 runs for Willie Mullins. But certainly reading the stable tours, Willie has been speaking about long distance novice chases for this horse. He's by Mutza here, if I've pronounced that right, Dave, the same sire as Envoy Allen. He's just a 6-year-old. You know anything about him, or are we just going to wait till we see him?
I don't know much about him, but I'd imagine that's what you said there is wait till we see him, you know, but there seems to be good reports on him anyway.
Yeah, certainly. Jet Powered, 14-1 for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. That's a cracking bet. If Facile Vega wasn't around, what price would he be for the Supreme right now?
Yeah, he was unbelievable that day in Newbury. Am I correct?
Yeah, the same race as Shishkin won.
That's the one, and obviously now the same colours as well. But yeah, he bolted up in for Cormac Farrell in Boris, and was sold then to Nicky and Donnelly then. But you could not be very taken by him in Newbury that day. Very impressive. Just looks a very speedy horse. Yeah, it's good. It's exciting, and obviously a young enough sire coming along with Jet away.
Was his point-to-point was in Boris House? Am I right?
Yeah, that's correct.
He was very impressive. Watch back that run, and yeah, you could obviously see he was well touted and well supported before his debut at Newbury. Very, very exciting. So yeah, that's a great selection. Week 3. Tell me something, girl. Mare's Chase. Didn't like the way she jumped. Reports were that she schooled very well prior. I didn't like how she jumped. Did you?
No, I'd agree with you. And she comes from the Colin Bow school as well. So you'd imagine she would have been a bit better.
Would you go back over hurdles, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe. I'd imagine. Yeah, they've plenty of options. So I don't know, but maybe they'll give her another go over fences, though, won't they?
They probably will, but I'm just thinking with Tell Me Something Girl, she was going so well last year in that mare's novice race. We had her, I put her up on the show, ran an absolute cracker in the sorry, not the mare's novice hurdle, the mare's hurdle itself. I just wonder would they go back that route? Obviously she was brought down, or did she fall, Dave? Can't remember.
I think she fell.
Yeah, I think she did as right, but she was going so well in it. I just wonder would they go back that route. Obviously, it looks a lot more competitive this season, doesn't it? The mare's hurdle. But if she went that route, I'm just wondering if Honeysuckle came out And I know we had a big debate last week, but if Honeysuckle came out and it was to be victorious at the Dublin Racing Festival, would we see Tell Me Something Girl go back over hurdles? Just a thought. Look, she's a big price for it. I didn't like the way she jumped anyway, but 8-1. Not your best selection, Bag of Hammers. Next pick is Queen's Gamble for the Champion Bumper. People are going to say, what did she beat? There's probably plenty of horses now to come out over Christmas for Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, etc. 10-1. I have to say, Dave, I was considering her at some point in time to put her in. Obviously, we haven't seen very much this side of the water. But in terms of what the English have, she's certainly top of the pile. Johnny Burke is very, very sweet in her.
Yeah, she was very good. You know me, Barry. I'm always very interested in bumpers, but I don't really like getting into the old champion bumper thing until a lot closer to the time, because I like to see more horses run, especially after the Dublin Racing Festival, and see who's riding who from the Willie Mullins stable and things like that. It's not really, wouldn't be mad on it for an Ante-Post race, to be quite honest.
Last selection, then, Blue Lord, 16-1 for the Rhino. I really like this selection, Dave. I think it's...
You're always a big fan, to be fair, Barry.
I was, yeah. I didn't think he ran his best race at Cheltenham, at the Cheltenham Festival last season. I am the forgiving type. And yeah, I think Blue Lord, 16-1. I think there's a lot worse bets than that. So yeah, decent selection. Florine Porter for the Sayers Hurdle. Until something comes out and stamps his authority down, he has to be the one to beat again, doesn't he?
You'd have to think so, especially just after the way he's done it before. And obviously, as everyone knows, he has to be going left-handed, and you can't beat course form and race form, and and I imagine that's what Gavin will be, just having one thing in mind. If he wins along the way, all the better, but it'll all be about one day like it was last year.
Before we come on from this very, very quickly, because we are going to come on next to our selections for this week, Dave. The Stayers Hurdle. Is there anything that you can see getting into the mix here outside the top 2 or 3 in the betting, like the Florine Porter, Classical Dream? Obviously, things didn't go to plan for him in the race last season. He obviously is a Cheltenham Festival winner, albeit over shorter trips. Is there anything at a bigger price in that Stayers market that is catching your eye?
No, not really, to be honest, Barry. As I just said, I'd be a big fan of Florine Porter. He's very tough to beat. Tactics got him beaten in Leopardstown by Classical Dream. But no, he'd be the one for me, Barry. I think it's very hard. If he turns up there in one piece, it's going to be very difficult to beat.
Well, I'll be honest with you and saying I'll be looking to take him on because...
Okay. Wouldn't we like it? Wouldn't we like it?
Well, the reason for it is there's plenty of mileage on the clock. I mean, he came from absolutely nowhere, didn't he? He came from obviously handicaps. He's obviously went on and done what he's done. Plenty of mileage. I just wonder, is there something? I haven't put my finger on what it is yet, but I'm mad. I'm just trying to find something to take him on with. Look, obviously we'll know more after Christmas, but at this point in time, he certainly looks the one to beat. But I want to find something against him in that Stayers division. Okay. By the way, I had him in the team sheet last season, so it's not that I'm not a fan or anything. I think there's plenty of mileage. Can he go back to the well one more time? And we'll have to wait and see. Right, Davy, you put up, just to recap on last week's selection, you did put up Sam Crow at 25-1 for the cross country. Happy on that?
Yep, happy out.
Happy
him,
out.
No doubt, run in the new year in another point to point and do his thing. And yeah.
Absolutely. Just let's run down very quickly through myself and the Golden Groove, who's not here. He's back from New York. He was itching to get back in, but I told him Davy Boland had his seat booked for the afternoon. Dysart Dynamo 12-1 for the Arkle was my week 1 pick. Has 1 entry over Christmas. It isn't a grade 1. He'd never do that, would he? Willie Mullins actually he's entered in the beginner's chase. It's actually that I did check that out before we came on. So he's 2 entries over Christmas. Hopefully we do see him. Scarlet and Dove 10-1 for the Mayor's Chase. Statler 20-1 for the Gold Cup. We've discussed that. Lucia 6-1 for the Mayor's. Chemical Energy 9-1 for the National Hunt Chase. Lossy Mount 7-2 for the Triumph Hurdle. And looking at Roland selections to date, his week 1 selection. It's flashing up on screen. Just have to wait for it to pass. Davy obviously put up Samco last week after the cross-country chase at 25-1. Well, Ronan Groome's week 1 selection was Gentleman to Me for the Queen Mother Champion Chase. Next, his second selection, just going to call it out. Second selection was Beauport for the Brown Advisory. Echoes and Rain was his week 3 selection, 12-1. Three Stripe Life, 8-1 for the Turners. Ashrow Diamond, 7-1 for the Mayor's Novice. And we'll give him a couple of selections next week when he's back. Right, Dave, the time has come. Your second Ante-Post selection is?
Paul Nolan, Sandor Clegane to win the Albert Bartlett.
And BOYLESPORTS have kindly enhanced the price out to 16-1. Talk us through it, Dave.
Really like this horse. I'm not looking for any applause or anything, but I did tell you this before he ever ran for him in his bumper. He was obviously very impressive at a quite sizable price when he won his bumper under Barry. And I suppose he kind of disappointed a little bit in a couple of bumper runs after that. But I think this horse has a similar profile to the lad's horse who unfortunately passed away, Latest Exhibition. I'd say he's a little classier in terms of he'd be a little bit more pacier, and he's definitely a better jumper. And the whole typical cliche, Barry, if whatever they do is a hurdle, over hurdles, there'll be a better chaser. And he is that. He's unbelievable to jump, and he's definitely very exciting next year. And obviously we've seen Latest Exhibition got just touched off. The Albert Bartlett gets criticism for what we call the spud race or whatever, but when Latest Exhibition was just obviously heartbroken at the time when he was touched off by Monkfish, and he had Fury Road. There was only half a length between the three of them, and Time Hill back and forth. So look at how much of a good race that turned out to be. I just think this lad, we'll see him in the Dublin Racing Festival in February. Came out of the race really well. He'll run in that race, that Latest Exhibition 1, and then hopefully, please God, all being well, he will go to the Albert Bartlett. People say, you need to have more experience and more runs under your belt. I don't think it will really bother this lad. One more will do him, and very excited by him. Nice to see Boyle enhancing him there. I backed him quite a while ago for that race. But yeah, I'm very excited by him, and I know the lads are as well. They think an awful lot of him.
Interesting. Yeah, I I can see it, Davy. He was on the short list, but I said I'd leave him to you. I'm joking. It was your selection all along.
Yeah, and as well, Barry, like obviously I'm slightly heart on the sleeve, a bit biased because it's the lads, good friends and just over the roads. But this is a very good horse, and I think we'll see him at his best when he steps up the 3 mile. I really do.
Yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it? Just you mentioned one thing. Traditionally, Albert Bartlett, you mentioned the experience, and I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. It's not as significant in more recent times, is it?
No, and we've seen better horses come win in the last couple of years now as well. Obviously going back to when Latest Exhibition got touched off. Look what beat him. Monkfish. His Latest Exhibition was just around at the wrong time, wasn't it, to bump into him over hurdles and over fences.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wish you well with that. Imagine if you took that double out, Dave. Samco 25s and Sandor Clegane. You would be officially the Ante-Post King. I suppose it's about time for me to throw one into the mix. I put Lossy Mount up last week at 7-2. I was expecting maybe a couple of comments underneath saying it was too short, this, that, and the other. But this week, I'm going to go in at a big price. I mentioned earlier on, I'm the forgiving type. We've mentioned him already on the show. Blue Lord, 18-1 for the Ryanair Chase. That's a cracking price for me, Dave. Now he's entered up just to kind of give, I suppose, talk about last season. We put him up for the Arkle Chase. Obviously went into Cheltenham unbeaten. He won his 3 starts over fences. He's now 159 rated. I don't think we saw the best Blue Lord at Cheltenham last season for whatever reason. And he was only beaten 7.5 lengths by Edwardstone. And we know what he's come out and done. He's now obviously 170 plus. So I think that form has has worked out well. Obviously, the second, Gabinacco, I think he might have picked up the pieces last season, the ill-fated Gabinacco. I think he would have went on to be a very smart horse, Gabinacco, this season. And I don't think that form is too bad. Lots of people were crabbing the novice form from last season. The one thing about Blue Lord, look, obviously on a seasonal return, it was on soft to heavy ground over 2 miles and 4 furlongs. He's got up on the shadows of the post to beat, won by a neck, obviously, against Tornado Flyer, who is a King George winner. He went a decent pace. Blue Lord was plenty free on a seasonal return over 2.5 miles on real deep ground. And he's out-battled a King George winner over 2.5 miles up in trip. And I think this is where we're going to see a better Blue Lord, is stepping him up in trip. He's entered at Christmas in that 2 mile Grade 1 race. Does he run there? If he does, it wouldn't worry me in the slightest, because I think he has the ability to win over 2 miles. Do I think he's going to win a champion chase against an Ergamine? I don't think so. But I think it's a high-quality animal we're dealing with here. And just looking at the market, this race is probably going to fall apart. Looking at the Ryanair
I'd
chase.
agree with that.
Yeah, it's been a race I've been looking to kind of get involved in that. And I mentioned, obviously, the stayers. Just looking at the betting now for the Ryanair. Obviously, with the doubts, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, whether it's all pie in the sky stuff. But Allaho seems to be doubts around him at the moment. Obviously, he's looking to make it another win in the Ryanair. He's currently at the moment 7-4 with BOYLESPORTS. Galloping the Champ. This is why I come down on Blue Lord, because obviously we've been speaking about Galloping the Champ, maybe dropping back in trip or staying at 2.5 miles this season. What I saw at the weekend, I can't see that at this point in time. So I think anyone who has Galloping the Champs for a Ryanair, I would be very concerned now at this point in time. I think from what I've seen, he's going Gold Cup. And I think he's every right to go up in trip now and go for it this season. Shishkin, for me, I don't care what the trip is. I don't think he's the same horse, Dave. Whether it's 2 miles, whether it's 3 miles, 2 furlongs, whether it's whatever trip, I don't think we're seeing the real Shishkin at the moment. Brave Man's Game, Nichols is on record. If he wins at the weekend, he will go for the Gold Cup. I didn't think he maybe would. I thought possibly he would avoid Cheltenham with Brave Man's Game. That was interesting comments. And then you're coming on down to Fakir Dudery, who's run a cracker, of course, in the John Durkin. He probably will improve for that run, and he's, obviously a 2.5 mile specialist. Then you come to Envoy Allen, and then you're down at Blue Lord, and 18-1, and he's 14-1, and he's enhanced out to 18-1. Avail of that. Going to pin it in the on the Champ.ie Twitter page. That's a cracking price. It's the industry best about Blue Lord, and I can see this race, as I mentioned, cutting up. That to me is a big, big price.
Not often do we agree, Barry, but I will agree with you on that. It's a massive price. Like you said, I think it's a race that will fall apart. I don't think we'll see Brave Man's Game there, or Edward Stone. Fakir Dudery, if he's there, he's there. But obviously Aintree would be his #1 target, I'd imagine. Shishkin, I'd agree with you on him. And all depends on Allaho. If Allaho turns up, it's going to be very difficult to beat. But
three questions for you in relation to Blue Lord. Number one, does he run in that 2 mile race at Christmas?
I would say so, yes.
He has the option, of course, of going to Thurles, doesn't he, at the end of January?
Yeah.
And the same race that Allaho won last season.
Yeah, and he could do that. Who knows with Willie Mullins, eh?
Okay, if he wins that,
the 2 mile race.
Yeah, are they reluctant, in spite of, obviously, an Ergamine staying at 2 miles?
No.
Do they stay at 2 miles, or do they go up and trip, in your view?
They go up and trip.
They go up and trip. That's what I thought. I thought this, in relation to this particular 2 mile race at Christmas, I think that's there for the taking, with an Ergamine not showing up. And obviously Chacun Poursuit, he's not getting any younger. This is still a very likely raced horse. He's 5 from 6 over fences. He's only had 11 starts for Willie Mullins. I think there could be a lot more to come from this Blue Lord. And I thought he was a full value winner at Thurles. I don't want to go into oversell, but the last question is... What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, you're right about Thurles the last day. It was very tough conditions, and good to see those good horses sometimes have to tough it out, and he did have to tough it out, So he has that.
Yeah, and by sire at the moment, I know you're a big fan, Blue Brazil.
Yeah. Good sire. Obviously, walking the park is a standout at the minute.
Just one last thing about Blue Lord before we finish up on him. His better form is when there's soft in the description. So, you know, if it was just because he's going up and trip from 2 miles, I think if it was soft ground 2.5 miles, I'd love to see that around Cheltenham. But that's Blue Lord. So 18-1, that is my week 7 selection. We've ran down through them. Davy, finally, before we wrap up, anything else to keep an eye on? I suppose from the point-to-point field, obviously Christmas trees has been taken priority, but anything from the point-to-point field to before we wrap up?
Obviously, it just keeps improving every year, and you know, it's every Christmas or into January, you always say, "Geez, it's gonna be so competitive now in February when these 4-year-olds line up." But I think it could be more competitive than ever. It's just them horses. Them store horses seem to get finer animals every year. Obviously getting more expensive too. But these lads here in Wexford anyway, there's a lot of very smart talking horses already, and we haven't even got to Christmas. So always look forward to that time of the year, February into March, for those. And like we mentioned, Captain Teague, he was so impressive in Knockanard. But on that day, I didn't get to go to Knockanard. I went elsewhere, and there was a very good horse that won on the day called Will Mount. Colin Bowe obviously did across the card double in the 2 4-year-old races. And Rob James rode this lad. He owned him with Colin, and he made a lot of money at the Cheltenham sale, and he went to Neil Mulholland, but I haven't seen him out yet. So, but this is a very good horse, so keep an eye out for him. But there's plenty more others, obviously, between wars. We'd like to see her run soon, you know.
Absolutely super, Dave. Wish you a very happy Christmas, happy Christmas and happy punting to all our listeners. Thanks very much for watching yet again. If you haven't, as I said, subscribe to the channel, please do so, and smash the old like button. Always helps the channel. It's been doing great. The Road to Cheltenham Challenge. Put your week 7 selection below. Make sure you've updated your portfolio. Of course, we will be sharing another portfolio next week. And Ronan Groome will be back to, I suppose, throw his eagle eye over those entries. Of course, the hamper to the value of €500 to be given away right before the Cheltenham Festival. So we've that to look forward to.
On the final 150 yards, this is a special pair, and it's a hands full of break. And it's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by
BOYLESPORTS has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. BOYLESPORTS, this is